Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How Community Colleges Help Immigrants Navigate Career Pathways. My name is Catherine Geber-Medin, and I'll be your host today. I'm joined by colleagues from the Community College Consortium for Immigrant Education, Westchester Community College, and Pima Community College. Before we get started, just a quick announcement. I know many of you are still logging in. If you're having any trouble connecting to your audio, please click on the highlighted icon to connect by telephone or by using your computer. If you have any technical issues, you can chat our host, which is West Global Talent Bridge, privately, and they can assist you with the audio if you're having any issues. Also, we're going to share a recording of today's webinar along with the slides. You'll receive the recording via email sometime next week. And one final reminder before we get started, we'd really love to hear your feedback after the webinar. So please look for the survey as you log out of the webinar platform. It'll only take a few minutes to fill out, and we really appreciate your feedback. Before I introduce our presenters, I'm going to tell you a little bit about West Global Talent Bridge and the Imprint Coalition, which is hosted by Wes. West Global Talent Bridge is a program of World Education Services that is dedicated to helping immigrants fully utilize their talents in education in the United States and Canada. We join with institutional partners and community-based organizations to help skilled immigrants leverage their training and achieve their career and professional goals. We're also a founding member of the Imprint Coalition. Imprint is a national coalition of nonprofit organizations dedicated to advancing the field of immigrant professional integration. To learn more about Imprint and to participate in the coalition's efforts to create opportunities for skilled immigrants, you can visit Imprint's website, imprintproject.org. On the website, you can sign on to a campaign in support of immigrant professional integration principles. You can see Immigrant Professional Integration Mapping Project, highlighting organizations doing skilled immigrant integration work. And you can also download Imprint's research report, Steps to Success, with an analysis of the barriers faced by college-educated immigrants. When you're on the Imprint website, don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. It's a great resource to receive regular updates on the field of skilled immigrant integration. Today, we're joined by an impressive group of presenters. EILEEN McKee is the director of the Welcome Center at Westchester Community College in Valhalla, New York. Jill CASNERLOTTO is the director of the Community College Consortium for Immigrant Education, and we'll refer to them as CCCIE for most of this webinar. We have two colleagues joining from Pima Community College. NORMA SANDOVAL-SHINN is the Immigrant Navigator at the college, and we'll be learning much more about that program on today's webinar. WENDY SCHEDER-BLACK is also joining us from Pima, where she works as the College and Career Transitions Manager. So we have a lot to cover today, and here's our agenda. In the webinar, we're going to discuss the role of community colleges in reducing brain waste. And we'll do this by highlighting two innovative programs at Westchester Community College and Pima Community College. After we hear from our colleagues at Westchester and Pima, we'll move on to a moderated discussion where we'll leave time for questions and answers for the audience. During the question and answer time, you can chat the questions to the host or to me, Catherine Geber-Medin, that you have for our panelists, and I'll remind you of this when we get to the question portion. So before I pass the presentation over to my colleague Jill from CCCIE, I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about brain waste for those of you who are not yet familiar with the term. When we talk about brain waste, we're talking about the nearly 2 million immigrants in the United States who are not fully utilizing their international education and experience, leading to underemployment or even unemployment. At West and Imprint, we've done quite a bit of research on some of the major factors that contribute to brain waste, and you can see them listed here. Many immigrants experience difficulty having their international education fully recognized by employers, licensing boards, and even academic institutions. Through research, we found that having some sort of U.S. credential boosts employability for skilled immigrants. This barrier is one of the many reasons that community colleges are so critical in addressing the brain waste issue, and why I'm really excited about this topic today. I think it goes without saying that a professional network is really everything in the U.S. job market. Newly arrived immigrants and refugees lack social capital and have to work hard to rebuild their professional networks in a new country. And finally, English proficiency. This is another area where community colleges play a huge role in preparing skilled immigrants to re-enter their careers. If you want to read more about these barriers as well as the success factors for skilled immigrant integration, I invite you to download Imprint's Steps to Success report, which is available on the website. This regional research was conducted by interviewing thousands of skilled immigrants, and we hope that its findings can help inform work in your community. And now I'm going to pass the presentation over to my colleague, Jill CASNERLOTTO, to talk about community college's unique role in addressing the brain waste issue. Jill, over to you, if you want to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. And I'd like to thank West Global Talent Bridge for hosting this webinar on brain waste and for that very helpful introduction outlining the scope of the problem. I think that community colleges are ideally positioned to play a key role in increasing educational and career opportunities for skilled immigrants, particularly when community colleges are working with their partners, with their community partners. They can help to address and reduce brain waste. But what are some of the opportunities? Community colleges can help skilled immigrants prepare for graduate school or gain a professional license in the U.S. They can help them learn professional English language skills or take advantage of flexible, affordable short-term credentials to update their job skills and gain access to new networks. However, community colleges are not always as well positioned as they could be to serve foreign educated immigrant students. They need to do a better job of more intentionally reaching out to students to showcase their various resources, whether it be the non-credit and credit offerings, workforce training programs, counseling and mentoring resources. And they need to provide more professional training to equip practitioners with the tools and expertise required to better guide students. I'd like to provide just a bit of background here. We are seeing a growing trend on community college campuses of college and career navigators to serve the general student population. So this is really an emerging role. Sometimes they can be called different things on different campuses, such as success coaches or career coaches. But the focus is really to provide overall guidance to students, a kind of a roadmap to help them connect with the various offices, such as admissions, financial aid, academic and job training programs, as well as referrals, making referrals to critical support services, including community resources. But what's less common are college and career navigators that are equipped to guide students on resources or some of the more complex issues that are specific to immigrants, and in particular, the immigrants that we're talking about today, foreign educated immigrants. So if we could just move to the next slide, please. So these are some of the areas in which immigrant college and career navigators can assist skilled immigrants. They can provide an overall orientation to the community college system and how that fits into the higher education system in the U.S. Since community colleges are a uniquely American institution, many foreign educated immigrants may not even know they exist in this country. They may not understand what a two-year college degree could offer them if they already have a bachelor's degree. Another huge area is understanding what's entailed in the credential evaluation process, as Catherine had mentioned, how long that process takes, and providing access to those resources that can help students get their foreign credentials recognized in this country. Third, individuals generally lack an understanding of and experience in networking skills required for a U.S. professional level job search. Also, learning about the most cost-effective transitions into further post-secondary education or making a move directly into the workforce. And finally, navigators can help skilled immigrants make those critical connections with community resources. And I think as you'll learn today from the two programs that we're featuring, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this navigation process. Colleges are approaching it in many different ways. If we can go to the next slide. Before I pass it along to EILEEN McKee from Westchester Community College, let me just provide a brief overview of CCCIE. The Consortium is a national network of community colleges and other organizations. We are working together to expand programs and services for immigrants and refugees and to raise awareness and to leverage the role community colleges play in advancing immigrant integration. The consortium is hosted and led by Westchester Community College in Valhalla, New York, a suburb located outside of New York City. And our initiatives include exchange of best practices, providing technical assistance to community colleges and other stakeholders, providing advocacy and outreach to inform and influence the field of immigrant education. And I do encourage you to take a look at our website and explore our resources. We have promising practices posted and various publications. We have just initiated a new blog where we have a very in-depth look at the Pima case that you're about to hear about. You can also learn about our national campaign, Presidents for New American Success Pledge, which we have underway to expand our national network and engage additional community colleges in CCCIE's mission and work. As I noted, our member colleges are from various parts of the country, including Pima Community College, which is located in Tucson, Arizona. So we're very pleased today to have representatives from both Pima Community College and Westchester Community College to share their best practices. And with that, I'd like to pass it along to EILEEN McKee of Westchester Community College.
Thanks so much, Jill, and hello, everyone. If we can go to the next slide. So I thought I'd start by just giving everyone a brief background about Westchester Community College and putting it in a context of who we are as an institution. So Westchester Community College is a public community college in the State University of New York system. We're in a large, diverse, mostly suburban, also urban county outside of New York City. And in our county, just 1 out of 4 residents are foreign-born. We have the federal designation of Hispanic Serving Institution, with about 33% of our credit students currently categorized as Hispanic. We have approximately 13,000 credit students per semester and about 65 degree and certificate programs on the credit side. We also have the largest non-credit workforce development and community education program in SUNY. And within that division is our English Language Institute, which is the largest non-credit ESL program in the SUNY system. So this is a non-credit, non-graded, fee-based program that draws a lot of skilled immigrants professionals and immigrants in general to our community college for the first time as they seek to improve their English for personal or professional reasons. So we have about 5,000 students per year in that English Language Institute. I'll refer to it as the ELI going forward. When we surveyed our ELI students regarding their prior higher education and education in their home countries, we found that approximately 75% of them have a high school diploma from their home country, and about 30% have at least some higher education from their home country. Now, the Welcome Center where I work is charged with providing the public with general information about the college and also providing programming designed to introduce immigrant students to the college. And when we decided where to focus that programming, we really focused in on our large non-credit English Language Institute population, the 5,000 students per year that were already here at the college studying English. So we developed a program where we provide in-class college information sessions and tours for our non-credit ELI students. So some semesters we do large group information sessions, and other semesters we do small group tours where we take individual classes around the campus to introduce them to the college beyond ESL. Regardless of which format we use in a given semester, our goals are the same. Our primary aim with these sessions is to give immigrant students an overview of offerings at Westchester Community College after ESL. So among other topics, we address issues relevant to skilled immigrant students. These are for our immigrant students in general, approximately 30% or so who do have some foreign higher education or more from their home countries. So in these information sessions or tours, we give an overview of the higher ed system in the U.S. and explain the role of community colleges in that. We explain admissions requirements to the college, how to get foreign credits evaluated, and we give an overview of student services, including our academic support center, placement testing, counseling, financial aid and scholarships, etc. We talk about immigration status and tuition rate issues, and degrees and certificates, both credit and non-credit. So in these tours, we really focus on both matriculated opportunities and non-matriculated opportunities, since skilled immigrants really are looking for both when they're looking at the community college and how it can benefit them. We also look at both credit and non-credit. And that's important because a lot of our non-credit short-term certificate programs are of interest to immigrant students in addition to our more traditional credit degree and certificate programs. In our tours and information sessions, we give examples of when skilled immigrants might go to community colleges and for what purposes, and when they might not. So we acknowledge in the sessions that their education in their home countries has value here in the United States. And if they have a bachelor's degree in something and want to continue in that same field, they might just move ahead in that path rather than going back to a community college. But we also explain and give examples of reasons how skilled immigrants can find a useful role for the community college in their journey. We talk about skilled immigrants who are perhaps changing careers or changing career focuses. Immigrants who have some college credit but didn't finish and want to do a degree or start a degree here in the United States. Skilled immigrants who want to do a short-term certificate program while working toward a long-term goal. For example, many of our non-credit healthcare certificates or some of our credit or non-credit certificates that might require prior credit, or in some cases even a college degree in order to be able to do. Skilled immigrant students who want to add new skills or a new license or certificate to their resume and their foreign experience in education. And skilled immigrant students who just want to visit and take prerequisites, maybe for that master's program or a certificate or license that they're pursuing. So in addition to familiarizing community immigrant students with our college, we also have the aim of making students aware of current offerings available to them as ELI students in these tours and information sessions. We want to make our ESL students feel like a real part of the college as a whole. So we aim to make them aware of offerings such as career and transfer offerings like resume preparation and interview preparation, cultural events that are available to them, academic support center tutoring that's available to them now, whether or not they can decide to continue with us at the community college after ESL. We also offer follow-up individual orientation sessions for our ESL students who are transitioning from the non-credit ESL classes to future college study. So these are process-oriented. We don't advise directly in the Welcome Center, but a process orientation and a chance for students to ask questions and either get direct answers or get referred to the appropriate areas, either internally in our college or to community partners in some cases, has proved valuable for ESL students who are making that transition from the non-credit ESL to our credit or non-credit offerings past that. If we can go to the next slide. So we give out surveys at the end of our tours and information sessions, and we've collected these survey results over the past 2 years. The chart you see in front of you is based on about 800 surveys that we've given out to students. So in these surveys, we asked the students 4 questions, and this is administered right when they finish the tour or the information session, the small group tour or the large group information session. We asked them if they're thinking about continuing at Westchester Community College beyond ESL. We asked them if the tour or information session was a good use of class time. We asked them if they learned more about WCC at the tour, on the tour or in the information session. And we asked if the tour or information session was useful. So the green bars that you see here in front of you are the responses after our tours, and the blue bars after our information sessions. And students responded 1 through 5 on these questions, 1 being strongly disagree, 5 being strongly agree, excuse me. Now 4, where you see a lot of our responses clustered, are agree. 4 indicates agree on the survey. So we were really interested in these results. The first question, if they were thinking about continuing beyond ESL, you'll see that the results are quite high. The average pretty consistent across the tours and information sessions, but just about 4 out of 5, indicating fairly strong interest among our non-credit ELI students in continuing doing something at the community college after ESL. Most students felt the tours or info sessions were a good use of class time. And the strongest responses here, the most positive responses, were that they learned more about our college and that the tour or info session was useful. You'll see the tour data was slightly more positive than the information session data. And again, those were small groups that were actually brought around the campus to see the different resources and offices that we were talking about. When we look at the data over the last 2 years, we're encouraged by this particular type of outreach. We're encouraged to continue it and to look into expanding it when we see that the ESL students generally feel that these type of sessions are useful and make them learn more about our institution. So other opportunities that the community college provides. Networking building opportunities is really something great that the community college can provide to immigrant students. 2 of our programs here at Westchester Community College that I'll mention are our Workplace Culture Coaching and our Conversation Partners programs. So Workplace Culture Coaching, both of these programs are run through our volunteer office and are staffed with volunteers. Our Workplace Culture Coaching program is not just for immigrant students, but many immigrant students participate in it. It pairs students with a corporate volunteer mentor. So students are matched with a mentor in their professional area of interest and shadow that mentor in the workplace to learn about them, their job, and their workplace. Conversation Partners pairs immigrant students with volunteers, mostly retired professionals in our community, for weekly conversation practice. In addition to providing the ESL students with a great opportunity to practice English and become more confident in speaking English, these sessions can really provide the beginnings of a network for them and contacts in the community. Our English Language Institute also provides a couple of resources that I'll mention here. Among other courses, we offer an English for Academic Purposes course, which is an academic program that serves as a bridge between our non-credit ESL and further college study, either here or elsewhere. At the end of that particular program, all students take the English portion of our college placement test to see where they would place in the series of college-level English courses if they were to continue. They also offer an English readiness evaluation, either to current students here and to just members of the community at large who are interested in studying in the community college, considering it, and aren't sure if their English is ready or if they need some additional ESL first. Finally, we host periodic events on the topic of making your foreign education count in the U.S. These are evening seminars that we give on a periodic basis, and we present them in partnership with other organizations. We cover here topics such as foreign credit evaluation, resume and job search advice for immigrant professionals, and what community colleges can provide to skilled immigrant students. We can go on to the next slide. So just as an example of a skilled immigrant student who has found a use and a function for the community college in her long-term professional goals, let's look at Rajni. So Rajni graduated recently from Westchester Community College. She's from India and is a lawyer in her home country. Here at WCC, she did the paralegal certificate program. And that's a certificate program on the credit side that requires at least 60 college credits for students to enter. She graduated just recently and is now employed full-time as a paralegal with a local product litigation law firm. She was just accepted in a one-year Master in Laws program at a local university that will enable her to sit for the bar at the end of that program. Now, she received a scholarship for 50% of the cost of the LLM program, and when she came by last week, she explains that she really felt that the community college positioned her well for this long-term goal. She is now able to work, so she's able to pay for law school, which she would not have been coming directly to the U.S. for the first time. And she also credits her really strong performance at the community college with making her an attractive candidate for the scholarship that she ended up getting toward her LLM. So she's an interesting example of a skilled immigrant professional who found a role for the community college as a stepping stone toward her longer-term professional goal. And with that, I'll turn it over to Wendy Scheder-Black from Pima Community College.
Thank you so much. As she was just saying, I am the College and Career Transitions Manager in the Adult Basic Education Division of Pima Community College. So all of our programs around the country operate within unique contexts and serve students in different ways. So let me just start by sharing a little bit about the context in which we work. Pima Community College is located in sunny Tucson and is the second biggest community college district in the state. The college serves about 45,000 students from the Southern Arizona region, and of this number, about 6,000 are adult education students. So we're a really big district serving a wide range of different students. Of that 6,000, about 1,400 are English language learners, or ELA students. In our world, ELA stands for English Language Acquisition for Adults. So if you hear us refer to ELA students, you'll know that I'm talking about language learners. Tucson is also a refugee resettlement city, and our program houses the refugee education program, so we serve a good number of refugee students here as well. Over the past several years, we have been investing heavily in different ways to support students in transitioning into college programs and onto career pathways. One of our key strategies has been to create several college and career navigator roles, which are actually full-time instructors who get release time to help students navigate the transition to college and career. Realizing that there were many questions and needs unique to our immigrant student population, last year we created an additional navigator role, an immigrant navigator. Our immigrant navigator, Norma Sandoval, is also an ELA instructor. So she's here with me today and will share a bit about how the role began and how it has evolved. We'll also talk a little bit about our Transition to Jobs class, highlighting another approach that we use to serving our immigrant students. Norma?
Thank you, Wendy. Well, at first, my main role as an immigrant navigator was to support the Transition to Jobs class created for highly skilled immigrants attending the different non-credit English classes in all of our adult education centers. Over time, however, my role has expanded into advising and coaching individual students program-wide. To make students aware of my services, I attend orientation sessions for new students, I visit classes, and I also keep in touch with the ELA instructors. I hold morning and evening office hours for students to access services at the same time that they are attending our classes. The majority of students who come to me want guidance in finding employment in the United States. When they walk into my office, they think that their question is very straightforward. They think that if they find out how to translate and how to evaluate their documents, they are on the way to finding a job. My job is to get a clear picture of the student's specifics, such as the education they might have already, the work experience they have, what transferable skills could be useful in the United States, what employment goals they have, and very importantly, their current English skills. Based on that, the student and I come up with necessary next steps. Oftentimes, the students assume that finding employment will depend on two things alone. One I mentioned already, translating and evaluating documents, and they mostly focus on developing their English skills. They think that if they speak English well, they will be finding a job soon. They are often very surprised, however, to find out that despite having an education in their country, being able to find employment in that field in the United States will require further education in the United States in order to get certification or licensing. My job is to help students understand that the process will not be simple or straightforward. It will be different for everyone. What the student should do depends on their goal. So my role is to support students in deciding what type of evaluation, for example, they will pay for. And sometimes I help them understand that going that route might not be their best choice. In some cases, students might have to get reskilled, and whatever resources they might be able to put into evaluating credentials might be better used investing in additional training. At that point, I can help students search for programs within our college that might be a good fit for the skills and interests, and we talk about the different ways in which they would be able to pay for their education. Students also often do not know where or how to search for jobs or what resources might be available to support them along the way. I work with those students individually to navigate the web for job opportunities and often will refer them to the Pima County One Stop, who's one of our collaborators, for additional support in seeking employment. It is important to have a warm handoff, so before they go to the one-stop, I coach students on what kinds of services would be available to them at the one-stop and the processes they can expect when they walk in the door. I help them form questions to bring and then email my liaison at the one-stop, letting them know to expect that student. Because I am an EILEEN instructor, I am able to communicate with students of varying language proficiency more easily. I can help them to interpret their assessment scores and understand what they might need to focus on moving forward. I also coach them on how to communicate effectively and appropriately within the U.S. work culture. Now, in the next slide, I'll describe the Transition to Jobs class a little bit more in detail. Next slide, please. As part of our efforts to help immigrants transition into careers, we designed a 10-week Transition to Jobs class to teach LS students job search skills and learn how to successfully navigate the U.S. workplace culture. There are several unique aspects of this class which support student success. First, the class is facilitated by experienced volunteers who bring a wealth of experience in diverse work environments. The curriculum was designed collaboratively by the volunteers themselves, the volunteer coordinator who recruited and trained them, and myself. Finally, because we use volunteers, we are able to have several in the classroom at once, making the ratio of facilitators to students very small. The experience and expertise of our volunteer facilitators assist transition to job participants in many ways. As native English speakers, they assist students with increasing vocabulary, business and work-related English, and correct pronunciation. They teach students how to interact in a professional way by encouraging email exchanges in between classes and to show up on time and prepared every single time. Facilitators review resumes, cover letters, and do many rounds of mock interviews, both first and second, in order to coach participants to be as prepared as possible. The facilitator's dedication extends beyond the weekly class, often making use of their own networks to provide connections or opportunities for our students. Past participants of the class most frequently express that the most valuable component of the Transition to Jobs class is the amount of time the facilitators spend coaching and mentoring them on an individual basis. Next slide, please. Now, success for our students look different in each case. In all of them, students have been successful in making some sort of progress. As you can see on the slide, we have one of the participants from Cuba in which, through the class, she was able to feel more confident and more clear on what her next steps are going to be. But an additional story I'd like to share with you all is that of Mohammed, because Mohammed is an example of somebody who may have fallen through the cracks if he had not had the kind of wraparound support that we provide. Mohammed came to us from a refugee education program class. He was a student who had no college education, but what he did have was an amazing body of work experience gained in a leadership position as a health educator in a refugee camp in Kenya. When he first came to our class, he was working as a dishwasher. The first thing we did was refer him to One Stop so he could start trying to find other job opportunities. But in class, we started working on his language skills and his job search skills. In the Transition to Jobs class, after many hours of coaching and mentoring, Mohammed was hired by the International Rescue Committee as an assistant caseworker and interpreter. To continue to capitalize on his health education background, Mohammed will soon begin a nursing program at Pima Community College. Next slide, please.
Great, and thank you. I think that moves us over to our panel discussion and question and answer section. So thank you so much, Norma, for that information, and thanks to all the other presenters. I find myself learning so much here about the really innovative work happening at both of these colleges, and so we thought we would move into asking a couple questions of the panel from me, the host, and then we have a lot of questions coming in from our chat box, so we'll cover a couple of the questions that we wanted to discuss today, and then we'll move on to the audience questions. Again, if you're in the audience, you can click the chat box and chat the host at West Global Talent Bridge. Any specific questions you have, we have a lot coming in, so we may not get to every question by the end of the webinar, but we will respond to those questions afterwards. So moving on here, and I'm going to ask these questions first of one of the panelists and then open it up to others to discuss. And so, you know, one thing that my colleague Jill CASNERLOTTO talked about at the very beginning of the webinar was how immigrants are serving skilled immigrants and how how community colleges are serving skilled immigrants and how other community colleges are really looking for ways to do that. And my question really is for Pima, because it's a very unique program that you have at your college. When did you discover the need to help immigrants who had international education and experience navigate career pathways options, and how did you start addressing this need? So I don't know either if Wendy or Norma wants to chime in here.
This is Wendy. I'd be happy to offer a couple of ideas that come to mind. First of all, with WIOA, we're no longer just teaching English language skills or just helping students pass the GED test. We are working to support students in their efforts to transition into college programs and onto career pathways. So the shift in this emphasis, I think, has really led us to investing much more toward creating new ways to help students navigate these very complicated processes. I think in and of themselves, these processes are never simple when you're working with large institutions, but when, you know, for our immigrant students, I think it just adds layers of complexity. One specific example also comes to mind. We run some IBEST programs, IBEST meaning Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training, here in partnership with programs at our college. And a few years back, we launched an IBEST program in partnership with the Hotel and Restaurant Management Certificate program at our college. In this program, it integrated basic skills instruction to a cohort of English language learners. So this program allowed our English language learning students to access the HRM certificate program while at the same time improving their language skills. So we recruited a cohort of 11 students for this program, and we learned through the process of helping them enter into this program the challenges of helping them that they were facing in getting enrolled into a college program. So whether it was evaluating their past educational credentials, understanding FAFSA, or getting through the registration process itself, we learned how difficult it could be for our students to navigate this. I think that this experience really helped us see how important it would be to provide more support for immigrant students in their efforts to move toward college programs or a new career, and I think that it really informed our decision to create an immigrant navigator role down the road. Norma, is there anything else you would add?
I just wanted to add that the role of the immigrant navigator also serves the purpose of informing instructors, helping instructors understand what are the different possibilities for those career pathways, because usually English learners will go to their ELA instructor with questions first. So for instructors to be able to have the information and know exactly where to refer the student is very important. That is the first step.
Great, that's very helpful. And, you know, EILEEN, I wonder if you have seen kind of similar challenges that Wendy was just discussing with students really trying to navigate the process, particularly of getting into college and finding the right path. Is that something you've seen as well, EILEEN, at Westchester? Oh, and EILEEN, if you're going to speak, you can unmute yourself to the right. I'm sure we can't hear you.
Sorry, Catherine. Thank you.
That's okay.
Yes, we have experienced those same challenges, and I think Norma really hit it on the head when she said that ELL students often go to their instructors as the first point with questions and advice about next steps. I mean, our information sessions and tours, that program, we really started after getting feedback from ELI faculty, students, and administrators that there really was a need in this area to introduce ELL students to the college beyond ESL. So that's really where our programs got started. And we do definitely see the complexity that Wendy was addressing. I think Norma said before, students often come with transcripts or documents and think that if they just translate them or get them evaluated in the proper way, it'll kind of be a clear pathway. But certainly the answers are not as clear-cut and are more complex and layered. So we certainly see the same.
Great, and I think that really comes back to, you know, the whole purpose of having this webinar is to think about how community colleges are really uniquely positioned to see these students, and I think oftentimes you're the first stop for a lot of new immigrants coming into the country to go to the college, and so to have someone help navigate is just very critical. So it's great that you're both addressing those in different ways. And so to kind of move on to the next question, which I think will be really helpful for folks who are on the webinar, maybe from other community colleges or from community-based organizations, what are some of the tools or approaches that you use to help immigrants pursue their career and academic goals? You know, and I wonder if you could just both maybe speak about that from Pima. Maybe we'll have you go first. And then I also want to really chime in and ask my colleague Jill from CCCIE, who really is looking at community colleges across the country and innovative work that they're doing. So Pima, do you want to answer this and then maybe pass it on to Jill?
This is Norma. One of the tools that I use in advising immigrants is, number one, I refer to their assessment scores, because it is important for students to understand where they are at with their language skills. Once we look at that, we go to the Pima College website, so we look at the different certificates that are available in the field students are interested in, and we also use the CCCIE, which is a website provided by the state, so students are able to explore careers and not only explore their interests, but be able to get specific information about how much some jobs pay compared to others, because it is important for students to see for themselves how there might be a career their heart is set on, but in reality, it might be something that is not really marketable at this moment. So there are different ways to help them see where they're at and just illustrate the options that they might have. But having the information at the Arizona Career Information System is one way for students to explore a way and come back to me with more questions until we find the path that they want to follow.
Great, Jill. Anything to add on to Norma's comment? And again, you can just mute yourself to the right of your name with the microphone.
Yeah. Thanks, Catherine. Well, I thought maybe it might be helpful just to just highlight very briefly some of the strategies that community colleges, are using to transition their ESL students into career or academic pathways. For instance, contextualized ESL programs in which ESL students are introduced to specific academic or job-related vocabulary where it's built into the curriculum. Wendy mentioned the IBEST program that they had. Another strategy is to create workforce development programs where ESL students can earn a series of what we call stackable credentials that can be accumulated over time in order to enable individuals to move up a career ladder or up an educational academic pathway. Other colleges have encouraged their ESL students to co-enroll in credit academic courses, and they may also be supported or linked with a contextualized adult literacy classes. So in this way, we've seen colleges launch their ESL students beyond ESL, so that's not the end. It becomes like the beginning of a course that can prepare them for you know, various professions such as accounting. One of the colleges that we've worked with found that their entry level, for instance, their accounting class was a very good career pathway where they've typically targeted to professional students, students, educated foreign students who were accountants in their home countries could take this course and found that they could then get positions and thrive in the career pathway and then get positions, be placed in accounting positions in this country after completing that certificate. So through more, again, intentional outreach to foreign educated students where the subject matter experts teaching those courses can make presentations to the ESL classes and tell them about some of the courses where they might be able to really find job opportunities, I think is another approach that we're seeing many of our community college members using.
Great, and we actually have a follow-up question coming in about stackable credentials, and wonder if you could give a couple examples of the types of programs that have stackable credentials at a community college and how they're funded is the question that I'm seeing coming in from the audience.
Well, some of the examples, when I mentioned Portland Community College has created stackable credentials in a variety of fields: accounting, computer application systems, retail sales, computer service, and other fields. They can access. Now at Portland Community College, again, they provide a support course in contextualized academic skill building and support courses concurrently. Another example is Passaic Community College. Well, those are not stackable credentials, but that's credit-bearing ESL classes. The funding can be coming through WIOA funds, can be helping to support some of this work. Sometimes it's coming from the college's budget, the workforce development continuing education budget. I don't know if Pima, if you want to talk a little bit about that, where you're getting support for some of those from some of the career pathway programs that you're encouraging your ESL students to transition into.
Yeah, this is Wendy. I mean, I can offer a little bit more. I think you've covered a lot of that ground already. WIOA funds for sure, but when we have career pathways programs here at our college, we have multiple different ways that people might get funding, whether it's financial aid, and in our career pathways programs, we can utilize ability to benefit as financial aid access to students without their diplomas necessarily. But a lot of our English language learners access financial aid in that earlier program I was talking about, the hotel restaurant management program. They were eligible for financial aid. And so WIOA funds the financial aid, and also there are certain grants that are available. In our college, we have the HPOG Hopes grant, so for health-related professions, students may end up participating with that as well. So those are and also there might be some county funds available as well that could support students in their transition.
Yeah. Catherine, I just to add to that, I think as Wendy just, cited, what often happens is there is a variety of funding sources. As she just said, it could be a county, it could be a private foundation helping to support these courses. Students in certain situations can access financial aid, or certain scholarships may be available to help them cover the cost of a course. It all points, though, to the necessity of having the navigators like NORMA and EILEEN on campus to help direct people to the right folks on campus to help them put that together, to put that financial aid package together or that scholarship package together.
Yeah, Jill, that's a really great point, and I think that the buzzword we all hear when we talk about some of these innovative programs, you know, both inside and outside of community college is braided funding, right? So pooling funding from all kinds of different places, but being able to have some that work-centered an individual or a department that can then, you know, work and put those programs together. One other thing I'll say before moving on to the next question is that Jill and I at CCCIE, along with Wes, we worked together a year or two ago to put together a guide of innovative programs at community colleges, and there's a lot of information available in that guide. It's based on a website, and Jill's also done a number of reports that she mentioned earlier through CCCIE. So for all of these questions, when we follow up with email in the slides and the recording, we'll be sending you links to all of those resources. There's a tremendous amount of information in reading, because we really want to make sure that everybody has at least those tools and resources to access when you're thinking about how your college can better serve skilled immigrants. And again, if you're from a community-based organization, I think there's a lot of this similar information that can help you in your program. So I'll just be on the lookout for those. We didn't want to litter the presentation with a bunch of resources, but you'll get them in your email. So moving on to the next question, because I also want to have some time for the audience questions. And this really for Pima and Westchester to each answer, because we talked at the beginning of the webinar about some of the barriers that skilled immigrants face when they're in the U.S. You know, but looking at it from the lens of a community colleges, I wonder if you could talk about some of the challenges that you encounter serving skilled immigrants with higher levels of international education and experience. I know that we've referenced a few times that community colleges are really unique to the U.S. and not always the first place you would think a skilled immigrant should go if they have, say, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. So really looking at that population when you meet them at your college, if you could just maybe speak to some of the challenges that you encounter in serving them, and I'll let Pima go first if someone wants to answer from Pima, and then EILEEN, feel free to tag on.
This is Norma. I find that some of the challenges that immigrants with higher education in the United States experience is, number one, coming to terms with the high expectations that they have. Many of them feel very confident that because they have attained a high level of education in their country, it shouldn't be a big problem to get a job in the United States in their field. Many times, students underestimate the length of time that is needed in order to get English language proficiency. That's one. And also the transferability of their experience or credentials is going to be another challenge. Depending on individual situations, being able to pay for further education in the United States is also going to be a challenge, because not all of our immigrant students qualify for financial aid, for example. And depending on what the situation is at home, even though the individual student does not have access to a lot of resources because of the way things go, when an institution is looking at the finances of a group of people in the household, our students end up in a place where they do not qualify for financial aid and they are not able to pay for further education themselves. So in that case, we have to be creative in helping students find grants or find other sources of funding opportunities. But definitely, you know, getting their expectations in line with what is possible and making sure that they understand how their credentials would be able to transfer or not is really important.
Thanks, Norma. EILEEN, anything you, oh, sorry, go ahead. Is that Wendy?
Yeah, it's Wendy. I just wanted to add briefly, I think that everybody would probably agree, and this is why we're all here today. There's just a lot of places where students maybe are referred to, don't always know exactly how to help them get started. You know, they're often students that walk in the door with something that seems somewhat out of the norm, and so there are a lot of people who are in a position to maybe serve those students but don't know exactly how to do that yet. And so that's also a challenge that we bump into often.
Great. Anything to add to that, EILEEN?
Yes, I think Norma highlighted a lot of the challenges, and Wendy as well. A lot of the challenges that we see come down to time and money. And when students have very particular questions about licensing or what career path makes sense for them given their background, it can be challenging, like Wendy said, to get those answers. And there are often no clear-cut answers. It's often a more complicated conversation. I mean, we find that we rely on some of our community partners in the area very much who specialize in skilled immigrants in different areas. So referrals are a big part of what we do. State licensing is another one that we find is a challenge. Students who are in a profession in their home country that's state licensed here in New York and want to pursue that license, navigating the licensing process for many can prove to be a challenge.
Great, and the community partnerships really brings me to my last question, which I think seems to be very critical to both of your initiatives. You know, hearing about the impressive volunteers that you have at Pima working with you on your program, and also, you know, the job shadowing that happens at Westchester. And so I thought maybe we could, and I know we're kind of running out of time here, but I think this is kind of a great final question. And, you know, if we didn't get to the audience questions, we can definitely email folks and send back some responses. But, you know, I thought because we have a group here of both community organizations and community colleges on the webinar today, it'd be great to hear about, you know, what are your most critical community partnerships that you have when it comes to serving this population, so either Pima or Westchester.
This is Norma. I think that one of the most important, the most critical partnerships that we have is those members of the community who are willing to work as volunteers in our program. Pima College has invested in developing a program that is integrated into our other programs, and volunteers are recruited, they are trained, they are carefully selected and matched to the positions they would be volunteering in, and they become a great resource for students. Another resource is the Pima County One Stop is really one of the most important partners that we have in the community, because they often are able to provide further training, and oftentimes they have money to pay for that extra education that our students need. Depending on the programs that our students are able to qualify for, they really have the capacity not just to train, but to even pay for tools, for example, when a student completes a certificate program. The local library with free classes and a lot of resources that are available on site or online is also another partner that we have in helping students who are not yet at the level in which they can move on to credit classes, but that they need additional resources to be working on their own.
Catherine, if you'd like me to continue with that line, we have about 3 community partners that we often refer students to in our area. Upwardly Global, the Welcome Back Center, and Cooper Union Retraining Program for Immigrant Engineers, and those programs are all free of charge for qualified participants. So Upwardly Global is located in New York City and has a great job seeker program for skilled immigrants who meet their eligibility requirements. The Welcome Back Center is in New York City, the one we refer to, and is a great resource for students who are foreign trained medical professionals and are looking to re-enter their field of study here in the U.S. I think they have 11 locations around the country. We're fortunate to have one close to us. Just the other day, one of our ESL students who came to me for an individual orientation before starting going forward with education here had come in, and I referred her to there, and she came back telling me she had signed up for one of their NCLEX preparation courses for internationally trained nurses as she pursues her nursing goals. So that was that's an example of an organization we refer to regularly. The Cooper Union Retraining Program for Immigrant Engineers is a unique program that assists both immigrant engineers and IT professionals who are unemployed or underemployed to gain access to higher paying jobs through training and job placement. So if they are students, if I'm speaking to a student who's an immigrant engineer or an IT professional, I might refer to there as well.
Great, and we just have a couple minutes, but Jill, I wondered if you wanted to talk at all about other community partners you see working with community colleges across the country, or the types of community partnerships that folks have, and then we'll wrap up after that. So maybe just a minute on that question so we keep to time. So thank you, Jill.
Well, you know, it's interesting. When EILEEN earlier had met and it was talking about the community partners and earlier had mentioned the Making Your Foreign Education Count in the U.S. sessions, Catherine, I was really, you know, thinking about these sessions that CCCIE and West Global Talent Bridge in partnership have encouraged and helped to organize at several of our member colleges. And just to build on it, these sessions we invite immigrant serving community partners to talk about their services. The college provides an overview of their services. There's a Q&A section on the topic. Global Talent Bridge really digs into the topic of foreign credential evaluation. If we have an organization such as Upwardly Global in the area, they will make the presentation on what the components of a professional job search process is, and we always also have someone tell a personal story, and that makes a big difference. The events have been really well received and well attended at around the country when we've provided these, and we've also conducted similar professional development sessions, you know, but geared towards practitioners, because as you can see from what all of our presenters have said, it's quite a complex field, and there's a number of issues here that are, you know, while they would overlap with any first-generation students or any community college students, very specific to those coming from another country, just of learning and adjusting to U.S. Workplace culture, job search practices, understanding the community college system, and many of the other things that we talked about. It's a tough field to keep up with, so that's why I think these professional development opportunities are also critical to the process.
Thanks, Jill. I think that's a great point to end on. And, you know, I don't know about you guys, but this hour flew by really quickly for me, and I'm glad that we were able to have such a rich discussion, you know, at the end with all of the panelists. And I really want to thank everybody who joined us on the panel, Jill from CCCIE, EILEEN from Westchester, and Wendy and Norma from Pima. I have our contact information listed here, and Norma's as well. Sorry, Norma, we ran out of space at the end, but you can contact Wendy to get to Norma as well at Pima. And so please feel free to reach out to us. As I said before, we've recorded the session. We will send the slides to you along with lots of other resources that are available. And because we had so many questions come in from the audience, which is great, we'll put together also a little FAQ to answer some of those questions when you see our follow-up email. So stay tuned for that sometime next week. But I really do just want to thank all of our panelists and thank all of you for joining us today. I want to make sure we get you out on time. So please, as you exit the webinar, feel free to fill out our survey and let us know how we did. We really appreciate your feedback. And so just want to say thank you again, and we'll see you on our next webinar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.